Do you think also like staying consistent can be staying consistent in the world of music if it's not necessarily just putting out music?
Oh, yeah. Like consistency, because when we're talking about this episode and we're talking about consistency, right? Like we just touched upon 3 different topics. We talked about music, we talked about shows, we talked about content.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think there's different avenues. And even if it wasn't that, even if you're, for example, if you're an engineer, like you could be consistently mixing and mastering records, you know, and not really post about it. You're still being consistent though, right? But I think it depends on what matters to you. I think for me, staying in the eyes of the fans mattered to me, which is why I continue to post content. But anyway, but for you, like, how do you feel about taking a break? Because you take breaks. You do. Like, people who don't know you like how I know you, or
please expand. Please. Like, no, for real. Like, I mean, I think I think this is something that I'm honestly glad you brought this up because I think a lot of people assume that I never stop. Like, I never stop because that's how I make it look.
Like this.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Face the Music Podcast. We are your hosts. I am Sarey Zavi.
Emanuel Brown.
Every episode is always something. Like, can we just get through some shit?
Yeah.
Right, Robert?
It's always something with your ass, too.
That's not true.
But thank you to friends of the podcast, Lemon Perfect.
Lemon Perfect.
We got the watermelon flavor.
Lemon
this is
purr.
my favorite.
Purr. It's full of flavor, no sugar.
Yeah, drink more lemons, nigga.
Drink more lemon. All right. That's the energy we're on, and we're only a minute in. Okay. So today, we are going to talk about consistency. Which is crazy because in another episode, we had talked about, is it the music? And we touched on this topic a little bit because we talked about a little bit about marketing. We talked about artists. We talked about, you know, what makes good music, all that shit. But now, and then I think I talked about developing, right? Working on your craft, something about 10,000 hours. So now we're going to get into, I feel like this episode is going to be like a deeper dig, almost. Maybe a little bit more specific this time. What I was thinking about is, you know, talking about how being consistent is going to attribute to your success, especially if you are an independent artist versus if you have a team and you're with a label or whatever. And also, you know, like, how does taking breaks affect kind of like your what's the word? Your trajectory.
In our experience,
always, right?
We just got to be clear because y'all motherfuckers out there sometimes be like, man, like, oh, shit, you know what I'm saying? Like, that ain't how it worked for me, blah, blah, blah. Of course not, motherfucker. We not talking about your stupid ass. We talking about us.
Oh, Lord. And that's why it's called Face the Music.
Yes, dumbass.
I love it. I love it so much. And then,
take a sip.
Take a sip. Wait, no, cheers me. Cheers me, Daddy.
I'm not your daddy.
Who is?
Your father.
All right.
I am a father.
Right, that's why I said daddy. What? Is that a lie?
Can you finish talking now?
Okay. So let's get into this. Let's
get
talk about consistency.
Let's get it.
Okay, Emanuel. I mean, what does it look like to be consistent with you when it comes to releasing music, doing shows, posting content? I know that was a lot, but you can dissect them one by one.
Yeah.
Start with the music.
So I try to release a song a month, usually.
Right.
Every year.
Very bold.
You think so?
I think it's bold.
I don't think so. I think it's sort of like the standard now.
You think so?
For like an artist who's trying to like I hate saying upcoming artist, but because I feel like to some people you're always going to be an upcoming artist even if you're already doing it full time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, which is dumb because you're no longer upcoming if you're doing it full time. But I would say I think it's a standard.
Okay.
To do a song a month now in my mind, unless I put out like an EP or an album or something like that, which I'm not afraid to do. A lot of y'all motherfuckers is afraid to put out an album.
I know I
don't
am.
understand. I don't understand why. That's a whole different conversation. You know what? That's an episode.
Okay.
Why you should put out an album.
Oh, God.
And we can talk about that. We're going to talk. Yes. Write that down.
All right. Write it.
That's the 10th. That's the 10th
That's the one.
That's the one right
there.
That's
the one, baby.
That's the one. But so I think once a month, right?
Okay.
Because it's such a deep question that you just asked me, and you know that.
We got time.
Yeah, I know. So once a month, because I feel like if you want to play the game, right? And when I say the game, if you want to play the streaming game and what their standards are, you have to put out a song every 4 to 6 weeks.
Right.
You have to.
If
you want to like continually grow in their system and their algorithm, if people like the music, right? And they think it's good. We just talked about that. So,
right.
Or we talked about that previously. So I think there's that. That's why I do once a month. Shows. Yes. Some people like to do shows every month. I do not, because I feel like from what I've seen from other artists, what I've heard they've experienced, and just in my own experience, right? When I do a show a month, people stop giving a fuck as much, because it's like, oh, I can't make this one, I'll just come to the next one. So I like to do a show every 3 months.
Almost like every quarter. I was gonna say
like every quarter. Because then like people be like, damn, when's your next show? And I'll be like, oh, it's in May.
Yeah.
Or whatever, right? And they'll be like, fuck.
Yeah.
It's January. And it's like, yeah, I know.
But it's worth
like,
it, though.
And they be like, damn, I gotta wait that long. But they always come, though.
They always come.
I've realized, like, in my experience, and I know in yours too, like they come and they bring more people, because like they remember what we did last time. So then it like continually snowballs, right? So that's why I try to do one every quarter. And I tried not to hit the same venues as much, because I don't want people just to feel like, oh, he can only play there, blah, 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 right? Because people say stupid ass shit like that, right?
Yeah.
Because like, and I'm animated about it being stupid ass shit, right? And I'm looking at the camera, because if somebody's playing a show, like I think people don't realize like that's more than what the average artist would do.
Oh, yeah.
Who's trying to like get their name out there. Some artists never play a show.
And then when they do, it's like some sort of fucking like showcase, or they hop on like a festival lineup, and it's not even like a good lineup.
Or they had to pay to be on it.
Don't do that. Lord, not
so,
pay to play.
Yeah, there's that. And then you asked me the last one. What was the last one? Content. Oh yeah. So So content.
You've been posting a lot lately.
I have, but I've been trying to post at least twice a week for the entire year, and I feel like that's manageable for me.
It's also bold and aspirational.
Yeah, I'm trying to get up to 3 times.
Ooh, that was me, girl.
A week, and I was doing that for a certain amount of time, and then like I had to stop because it just like
it's a lot.
It gets to be a lot, but
right.
And I mean, I'm doing it. I'm shooting it and editing it and putting it out by myself.
You're a one-man man.
So in that sense, yes. Not in every other sense. But so I would say probably twice a week, but I'm trying to get up to 3 times a week as a minimum. And then like, well, when the podcast is out, it's going to be way more. It's going to be like, we're going to be posting probably like
a lot.
4 to 5 times a week.
So
you're going to see so much. And I mean, honestly, that's what it was like in season 1 anyways. We was doing like 4 or 5 things a week. I know.
Sometimes I think, how the fuck did we do that? Like, that's just so much.
Because we're driven. We will not be stopped. Stay consistent, bitch.
Bitch.
That's why. You know what I'm saying? So what about you? Streaming, content, shows.
Well, for all of the serenaders out there, you know that I've taken a break. And
which is funny because we're talking about staying consistent. And
I know.
But go ahead.
And we're going to get into that. We're definitely going to get into that. But before that, I was releasing music. Actually, it wasn't once a month. I was releasing music almost every other month. So I wasn't even.
That's still a pretty good frequency,
It's
though.
still it is, because at least it's consistent. At least you can kind of look at the pattern and be like, okay, he released a song in January. He's probably gonna release something in, or actually maybe later in the year, right? Like if you're trying to catch on, like, okay, it's July. He must be releasing a song in August if he already did one in June. So I would say that. I don't really care about the streaming stuff, like as far as the numbers go, because I'm too busy trying to create quality music.
Mm-hmm.
And also I'm an independent artist, just like yourself. So like I can do it whenever the fuck I feel like it.
Right.
But I choose to be consistent though.
Right.
You know what I mean? As far as shows, I'm on the same page as you. And the reason why I say that is because I think if you are a gigging musician, I think that's great. Like if you can consistently book, that's amazing.
Explain what gigging means for the audience who don't know what that means.
Gigging, when you're performing shows like regularly. So in my mind,
like on tour, do you mean like touring, like a touring artist? Is that what you mean by that?
No, because I feel like even you could be a local artist and gigging. You know what I mean? Like there's plenty, like for example, growing up, my parents and my sister, they were huge on gigging. And basically what that means to me is, and what I've noticed is that they would perform at like the same casinos or bars or restaurants, but they would like rotate every month.
Okay.
So sometimes it'd be like 2 times a week. And so for me, that's like a regular, like you're regularly performing. And I wouldn't say touring like that. I don't know why. I just feel like, to me, it's just different.
Yeah. It sounds, I mean, it sounds like what you're referring to is still doing shows, but it's just not in the normal capacity. Yeah. Because most people would go to like a Key Arena or some shit. Yeah. Not Key Arena, Climate Pledge. Fucking excuse me. Or some shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Or like the Gorge or some shit like that.
But I understand what you mean. I guess, local gigging. There you go. I'll just be specific. Because gigging could mean tours and out of state.
We have to be specific. Yeah, not everybody here is an artist.
So, but the reason why I like once every quarter is because it gives me the chance to really be thoughtful with the show.
That's a great point. I didn't mention that.
Yeah. So I was holding on to that as you were saying it, because I was like, oh, I want to say this so bad. But I feel like with artists, there are some artists that we know that do shows pretty regularly. Yeah. Frequently, once a month, 2 times a month sometimes. And what I've noticed about their shows is that it's always kind of the same thing. Yeah. You know what I mean? Have you noticed that? It's like same intro, same songs. Yeah. Moving the same.
Oh God. So I literally was like half a millisecond away from saying this person's name. And I chose not to in this moment because 3 out of 4 people in this room know exactly who I'm talking about. Right? I'm not gonna say their name. Sorry.
But not sorry.
I'm not. But so I used to perform with this artist. Yeah. All the time. And
I already know.
Yeah, exactly. And one thing I started to notice whenever we would do shows, people would come, we have a good crowd, but people started noticing that said artist always did the exact same thing. Yeah. Every single show. I mean, the music was the same. The choreo was the same. How he moved on stage was the same. What he did was the same. Like, and the show never changed. Oh, so it got to the point, and I mean, this was like a year and a half straight.
That's so terrible.
Right, and it got to the point people were like, damn, man, like, are they going to do something different? Yeah. You know, and I would like move, and I learned from that experience. I was like, okay, like I always got to like switch it up just a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
Some way to make people feel like they're getting their money's worth.
Exactly. So in the sense, it's kind of funny because it's like we're saying be consistent, and then we're like having this conversation about like people who do shows regularly, but they don't switch things up, but they're being consistent. But it's important to be consistent, but also to twist things around. Yeah. Right? And so doing shows once every quarter gives us the ability to do that. Even if it's the same fucking venue, we can perform different music. Like that's 3 months, right? In a quarter. So it's like there's plenty of opportunities for new music to already be out. There's opportunities for like other things outside of music that could have occurred that we can incorporate into the show. What's going on? Oh,
we incorporated Lemon Perfect in one of the shows.
We did. And that was so awesome. That was so kick-ass.
Shout out to Alexa. Shout out to Sharmista, Josh, Yanni, Peter.
The whole High Dive team as well.
The whole High Dive team. Y'all know who they are.
Yeah.
Because they definitely let us come in there and bless everybody with some Lemon Perfect.
But that's what I mean.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, and I think once every quarter is still consistent. Yeah, maybe it's not regularly, but hey, at least when you come to the show, you know you're gonna get something different every time. Right. Like you and I and Mo and Keontae, like, and King as well. Can't leave him out. Like we,
go ahead.
Like we do different intros. We do stage mixes. Like, and it's different every time. You are not going to get the same show. Mm-hmm. You're not going to get the same experiences. And that's what that allows. So that's why I like that. Obviously, that's going to change as we grow, right? So we got to figure out how to keep up with the demand at one point. But for now, once I've recorded, as far as social media posts, oh my gosh, if y'all seen how often I post on social media,
it's wild, dog.
It's crazy. It's like wild. When I was looking at my schedule of how frequent I post, I used to do 4 times a week.
It's a lot.
It's so much. But the EP that I just dropped back in December of 2023, that helped a lot.
What's it called?
It's called I'm Still Healing. So if you haven't bought it, streamed it, or did both, if you're feeling generous, make sure to go do that.
You better go stream that motherfucker. It's great.
Thank you. It's so personal. It's a great body of work that I think was well put together, but I'm biased. Anyway, so, but yeah, I think that's kind of, for me, I don't think 4 times is going to be feasible. I'm with you on the 2 times a week, but I like to switch it up. One week I'll do 2, the next week I'll do 3. I kind of like to switch it up like that. But ever since this year, like January, I've been posting so fucking much. Even while I'm on my break, I'm still posting.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm still being consistent in a different way.
So do you think that being consistent can still be beneficial when you're like on a break, or when you may scale down from where you were at before? Like you say you were doing 4, now you might want to do 2.
Yeah.
Do you still think that's being consistent because you're continually giving people something?
I think so. Like I don't think it feels, what's crazy is I'm taking a break from releasing music, but like I'm not taking a break from being in front of people's eyes.
Ooh, that's a body blow. So hold on. Double down on that. Double down and like explain that to people, because some people thought that you were going to be on a break from everything.
From everything.
So do you want to touch on that for a second?
I mean, I posted, so I did release a reel where I said that I was going to be taking a break from releasing solo music, but I was going to finish my existing obligations. So I mentioned that in the reel.
So you're saying, no, I'm not going to say that. Never mind.
What? Go ahead.
Fuck it. So you're saying niggas is dumb. Basically, they didn't watch your video in its entirety and basically like listen to everything you said.
I mean, come on now. Yes, I think most people do that. I think a lot of people skim, especially with Instagram stories. People skim that
dudes
shit.
Do like
exactly. So it's fine, but it does get annoying to like.
It's like they're playing
it.
Crossy Road.
Right.
You know the game Crossy Road?
Yes.
I'm going to screen record it and I'm going to put it on the screen where like people be like doing Crossy Road and shit. That's what it looks like.
But yeah, I said I was going to take a break from doing that, but my existing obligations have extended. You know what I'm saying? Like the content I've been posting is about the EP.
Right.
So it's not about anything new. And I have, I've done a little teaser here and there of new music on my Instagram story, but like I've stayed true to my word by saying I'm not releasing solo music,
right.
So, but then I also mentioned, for those of you who didn't see that reel, I know Natalie did because we talked about it on the podcast interview I did with her.
Her podcast is fire.
She really, she did her fucking research. Like,
I'm so terrified, bro. But go ahead. And excited at the same time, but go ahead.
You should be excited. But yeah, so she even mentioned that. She was like, you had a plan and then you hit the Serenaders with the news that you were taking a break.
Yeah.
And she was like, how did that feel? And it felt great. Like,
That's
honestly,
good.
I fucking needed a break.
Yeah.
Like, I needed to, because the truth of the matter is that if I'm going to be consistent, right? Like, I need new experiences. I need to be able to write about new shit. I can't be writing about being sad all the fucking time. You know, which was, I feel like I was doing that consistently for years. Like, if you really listen to my music that I released in the past 3 years, it's all about being alone. I don't know if people caught that. But Company is about being alone.
It is.
You know, Games is about being alone.
Music you can dance and cry to.
Yeah, exactly. As I would say. Yeah. Lonely is about being alone. Call Me When You Sober Up is about being alone. I wish. That whole EP is about being alone. You know what I mean? Doing things on your own.
But you better be alone.
Exactly. So I'm just like, I'm ready to write about other things, and I needed that break to do that.
But, you know, I think even you, like, wow, number one, thank you for expounding on that. I think
you're welcome.
I think it's dope how, you know, that's still like consistent. Like, even you saying like you did that for so many years is consistency in itself. Like, staying consistent with on brand, on what you wanted people to see, and now you're trying to go to a different direction too.
But I was afraid of taking a break, and everyone knew that. Like, everyone close to me knew that. I was afraid of taking a big break because I was scared about how it would impact my trajectory. I was scared about whether or not the fans that were there when at the Chop Suey show, right, were still going to be there after I was done on my break. I was so scared. I was like, are people going to stop listening to me? Are people going to forget about me? But like, I just realized, like, I think like the true fans will still be there.
Yeah.
And even when I took my break and I posted that reel where I was saying I was going to take a break, there were fans who were like, we'll be here when you're ready.
Do you think also like staying consistent can be staying consistent in the world of music if it's not necessarily just putting out music?
Oh, yeah. Like, consistency, because when we're talking about this episode and we're talking about consistency, right? Like, we just touched upon 3 different topics. We talked about music, we talked about shows, we talked about content. And so I think there's different avenues. And even if it wasn't that, even if you're, for example, if you're an engineer, like, you could be consistently mixing and mastering records, you know, and not really post about it. You're still being consistent though, right? But I think it depends on what matters to you. I think for me, staying in the eyes of the fans mattered to me, which is why I continue to post content. But anyway, but for you, like, how do you feel about taking a break? Because you take breaks. You do. Like, people who don't know you like how I know you, or
please expand. Please. Like, no, for real. Like, I mean, I think I think this is something that I'm honestly glad you brought this up, because I think a lot of people assume that I never stop. Like, I never stop because that's how I make it look.
Yeah.
Right? But please explain to people what you mean by that.
I mean, like, I'm around you often enough to know that you are, it looks like you're consistent because you post consistently, you're always on your story. But like, when I'm with you in person, you take prolonged breaks, like, during the day. And like, you have other things that are going on in your life, so you pause and you focus on other things that are going on in your personal life, which we don't have to get into.
Yeah.
But when I'm around this man, like, you know, there's weekends I spend with this man, like whole weekends. So like, I get to see the side of you where it's like you're relaxed and you're not worried about like writing. And there has been times where maybe to the fans it doesn't look like it, but you have told me, like, because I ask you, like, when was the last time you wrote a song? You know? And like, or when was the last time you recorded? And you'll be like, a month ago. But like, with the fans, they're like, I don't think that they'll believe that because like, you're posting consistently. So they're like, there's no way. Like, he must be like recording all the time every day. He must be writing every day. But that's actually not the case. You're just really good at like pacing yourself. But also in a previous episode that Robert had talked about, like
compartmentalizing.
Yeah, like, you're really good at
See, I told you you was gonna fuck up. I told you was gonna fuck up on a word.
Yeah.
I told you.
Whatever.
And you did it. Anyway.
Whatever. But like, you're really good at, like, your consistency is is more under wraps. But I think you like have a really good balance. I make fun of him all the time.
I try, man. I really do. But go ahead.
No, I was just gonna finish by saying, like, I make fun of him a lot, y'all, because I'm like, we want more music. Where the fuck is the music? But like, he is someone. He does write. You do write. You do record, and maybe it's not at the same consistency that maybe I would want it, right? As a fan of your music as well, not just a friend, but you have a really great balance, and it just doesn't look like that to the fans. If I didn't know you and I just watched your story, or I watched like the amount of times you post content, I would think this guy is busy all the fucking time.
I think
yeah, what the fuck do you gotta say to that? What are you gonna say to that? How you gonna fucking respond to that shit?
I think there's a lot of truth to that, what you're saying, number one. And I also think, too, there are a lot of times where my life is nonstop.
It is.
Right? Yeah. And people just don't. And, like, it is what you see. But I just don't talk about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm not the type of dude to just be like, oh, my God, guys, I have so much to fucking do. Like, that's just not.
That's so me.
That's just not me. Yeah, that is you,
that's
for sure.
That's so me.
But that's not me. Like, I'm just going to do it.
But you have been opening up more.
Yeah.
You have been opening up about your personal life more. So, like, why?
I feel like one of the biggest things that I'm trying to be more consistent at, right, is letting people know that, like, I go through shit too. You know, like, because I always talk about, like, you know, like, hey, just go get it. Go get it. Go get it. If you want it, go get it. Like, that's my thing. I truly believe that anyone on this earth, if you want something, there is no excuse why you cannot get it.
Yeah.
There's no excuse. Unless you don't work hard enough. Unless you don't find the resources to figure it out.
Yeah.
Like, there are going to be situations where it makes it harder to get things.
Right.
But I also think if you really want it bad enough, you'll find a way. Because all the people you aspire to be found a way.
But
right?
I'm hearing something else though now.
What are you hearing?
Which is the mental health piece.
Yeah, well, I think like the biggest thing is I want people to know, like, I am out here trying to do everything that I can to be successful.
Yeah.
But I also deal with shit in my life too that, like, I just don't talk about. You know what I mean? And I feel like and the reason I am being more open to get to the point is it's like I want people in it because I feel like there's a disconnect with me online and with me in person.
Right.
Like, people see me online and they assume one thing.
Oh yeah.
Right? They don't assume that about you. Right? Because, like, you're and I mean, I want to be clear, like, I'm the same person online as
you are offline.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
But it doesn't it's harder for people to see that
right
online, you know what I'm saying, than it is in person. Like, because people have this, like, preconceived notion of who I am online, which is fine, right? But I'm trying to be more open to let people know, like, you know, when you see me in person, it's like, oh yeah, like, you know what I'm saying, like, it connects more. So, like,
that's consistency too.
It is. And I mean, it is hard for me because I'm a very, 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 very private man. And I don't really like people in my shit at all.
Valid.
But I think it's important for people to know when shit's going on with me. So, like, you know, last year when I put out Pressure, like, I lost my brother. Yeah. Like, my brother was murdered. So, like, I didn't talk about that. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But I did tell people, like, I got shit going on, like, in my life that's, like, really affecting me. Like, you know, or, like, the last couple years have been super crazy for me.
How did that affect your consistency, though? Did that affect your consistency in any way with releasing music? Or
No.
No.
And you know what's so crazy about that is, like, a friend of ours, damn, I don't want to say their name because then, like, I feel like we might have to place. No, we won't. So Jenny, right, who we had on the pod.
Great human being.
Amazing human being.
Yeah.
And she, I was talking to her one day, and then she was like, man, yo, you just don't stop. She was like, you literally, like, lost your brother.
Yeah.
Like, and you just kept working. She's like, you just kept working. She was like, you didn't even like, she's like, you didn't even sit down. You just kept working.
Yeah.
And I was like, because I have to. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like.
Well, do you have to though?
I don't. Right. And that's what something I've been learning in like therapy too, which is like I'm opening up more.
Wait, hold on. He's opening up about being in therapy.
I mean, I think I've said that like on my story before.
Really?
And stuff like that.
I might have missed that.
Yeah. I mean, I just think, I'm at this point in my life where I want people to know, like, I'm not asking people to be perfect.
Right.
I'm just asking people to don't let your circumstances define where you want to go. Yeah. And I think that's the most important thing I want people to know about me being consistent is like, like I lost my brother. That shit crushed me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and, but I still knew like life goes on. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that doesn't mean like I don't care about my family anymore. Or
it doesn't
less,
mean you can't pause either.
Exactly. And like I grieved, but
differently, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, you grieve differently.
I grieve in my work.
Yeah.
Like my music is how I grieve. Yeah. And most people who know me in person or meet me in person, they put that connection together.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so that's one thing I learned about like, that's how I need to be more consistent in opening up is letting people see those things. So then it connects them more to the music, who I am as a person and being like, dog, like this dude really is like who he is online. You know what I'm saying? So does that make sense?
No, it makes sense.
Okay.
And I think, but I think the bigger question for me, is for both of us to think about is like, is there a time where it's okay to not be consistent? Is there ever a time as a musician? It's hard to imagine a world like that, right?
Oh God. What a great question.
Yeah. You lost your brother.
Yeah.
Right? And I'd like to think most human beings that would stop everything.
Yeah.
Right? Like they would be really upset. They probably wouldn't be able to do a lot.
Yeah.
When I got my divorce, like I was like you, I kept going.
Well, I feel like to answer your question, yes, it's okay to stop. Yeah. It is okay.
But when? When is it okay?
Whenever you feel like it's necessary. Like when you decided to take your break or you're doing your break, right? Yeah. I mean, you decided that that's when you needed it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I decided I needed a break when like after I put out the Bad News album in January, right? Because it's like I've been talking about it for 6 months.
Right.
I've been recording nonstop. I've been making more music nonstop, shows nonstop, content nonstop, videos nonstop. I needed after I put it out to just like let it be, for a minute.
Right.
And not worry about putting out music and like, grieve. You know what I mean?
But how does that feel? How does that feel? Because is that the first time you've done something like that?
Yeah.
Okay, so how does it feel for you? Does it feel weird? Does it?
It felt good, honestly. Yeah? And I mean, I had to really think about it because a good friend of ours, shout out to Suki. Shout out to you, Suki.
Oh, she's so amazing. Shout out to Suki.
She had said something to me like in the DMs before. She was like, man, you've been putting out. She was like, because like we were talking about my Bad News album and she was like, yeah, you've been putting out music straight for 5 years.
Which, by the way, go buy and stream it, the Bad News album.
Yeah, if you want. But she's like, yeah, you've been putting out music for 5 years straight. She was like, you deserve to sit down for a second. And it was just like when she said that, like I didn't even realize it because I just been like going.
Always
and
on the go.
I think that's a part of it. You know what I'm saying? Like I know what ecosystem I want to play in.
Yeah.
With music, streaming, shows, whatever, right?
Yeah.
You are as best as you are, today, not yesterday.
Right.
Right. But I also think too, like I needed that moment to just sit and just like not think about music for like 2 months.
Yeah.
Because and another thing too is the reason why it felt good and I still felt consistent is because I always worked 6 months in advance.
Yeah.
Right. So like what you're seeing when you seen that album, I was already working on something else.
Yeah.
Right. So I gave myself the time to not feel like a failure.
Yeah.
When I sat still.
Yeah.
Right. So I feel like that balance is important too.
So, but now you're getting back into the swing of things. You are because you have a song that's coming out.
Yeah.
Right, with Jay Nui.
By the time this comes out, it's already out.
It's already out.
Yeah.
Shout out to Jay Nui, because that's a fantastic song.
Yeah, thank you.
And then you have, the show.
Yeah.
Right, with Mosaic and King Dow.
Mm-hmm. This will be past by the time this comes out.
Oh, okay. Well, in this very moment, it'll be past by then. But you also, and then we have some stuff that we're doing that we're for now, but but as you're getting back into it, right, and as you have reflected on during this time when you took your break, and then Suki said what she said about 5 years, why is it important to be consistent?
Well, before we get back into that, I do want to add one more thing.
Okay.
The reason why I kept going too is because I knew my brother didn't want me to stop. He wouldn't want me to stop on his expense.
Right.
Right, because he knows all my family, that I speak to, knows how much this means to me. So they wouldn't let me stop. They would let me grieve. Yeah. They'd be like, "Nah, he wants you to." Keep going.
Okay.
But I think, what was the question?
Why do you think it's important to be consistent? Like, with releasing music, honestly, with any aspect.
Any aspect of your life. I mean, specifically music. I think. It's such a loaded question.
It is.
Because I feel like you have to be consistent, because if you're not, most consumers who aren't die-hard fans are going to go find somebody else.
They are.
Right? Go ahead.
Question?
Yeah.
So,
Jason, everybody.
Asking a question off camera.
No, I'm just curious. So, do you see yourself creating a new consistency once you start back up, both of you?
Well,
that's great.
I mean, that is a great question.
That's great.
So to answer your question, I technically never stopped. Like it looks like I never stopped, but I did.
Yeah.
Right. So like in my mind, I set it up that way. I knew like, okay, like once January 15th happens, I have content for the next 3 months. So I can just like sit the fuck down and do nothing. You know what I mean? Like, so on the outside looking in, it looks like I never stopped, but I did. Right. So like my consistency hasn't changed.
Yeah.
Right. It's just like what my consistency to the public has not changed. What has changed consistently for me is how I go about that new norm.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
What did you ask me again?
Why is it important to be consistent? And
yeah. I was saying, because as an artist, right, if you don't have a diehard fan base, which most artists of our size may not.
Yeah.
Right? If you leave, if you don't keep giving them something, they're going to go find it somewhere else. Right? So there's that. I also think that just knowing, like, just being in a rhythm for yourself.
Yeah.
Is important, and I think it's scary. Consistency is scary for people who haven't done certain things before, right? Like, I mean, you have never done a podcast before.
No.
Before this one, right?
No.
But you knowing how they work and knowing how to do music and release music has taught you a different way to deal with consistently putting out a podcast.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I did a podcast previously, so it's like,
I
know what that looks like.
I
forgot
know what I mean? You did that.
Yeah, we're not talking about that. But like, we know, I know what that looks like, so I know what goes into it. You know what I mean? And then I think a lot of people, consistency is a scary thing because it's the fear of unknown.
Yeah.
Right? But once you like start doing something, it becomes easier to do it. It becomes easier to cut up content because I do it.
It becomes easier to come up with topics. Sorry,
because we do it. No. Because we do it. It becomes easier to shoot videos if you have done some. It becomes easier to go record if you've done it. It becomes easier to sit in front of people, look at you perform on stage if you've done it. So like, I think the consistency comes from continually wanting to do things, and then it becomes easier.
Yeah. I agree.
What about you?
I mean, I think consistency to me, outside of the obvious, is I think if you claim to be a serious artist, a serious musician, you know what I mean?
If you claim,
I think it's important.
We ain't gonna get into that.
I feel like it's important for you to be consistent to be able to achieve goals.
Mm-hmm.
I think that I don't think you can. There's no way around doing the groundwork without being consistent. There's no way around it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we live in a time that's really great because there's a lot of resources. I would argue more resources than we've ever seen for artists to succeed independently. But I also think, like, you know, maybe to the average artist who isn't that well versed in a lot of different aspects of the music industry, maybe releasing music is their, like, once a month is their idea of consistency, which it is for that piece.
Right.
But if we're talking about, like, you know, being a full-time artist, the consistency has to come from really setting goals, right? Having plans, having a year plan, 5-year plan, which is something that we do, right? Like, we're always writing down release timelines and consistently creating content. And, like, those things attribute to meeting whatever your goals are.
Yeah.
Which is different for everybody.
And you got to know how to fit it within your life.
Exactly.
Outside of music. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm married, I'm a father, right?
Yeah.
And then, like, I'm doing all that on top of music.
Yeah.
Right. So, like, I know there's certain blocks in my life
Yeah.
where I need to be consistent with something that's not
Exactly.
this or that or whatever.
And it's like what you said, you know, being consistent is great because it could lead to other opportunities. I think that's another thing that we should mention, like this, right?
Our friends at Limit
Our
Podcast.
friends. And it has led us to a lot of different things,
Yeah.
You know, collectively within the crew and also individually.
Yeah.
And so I think that, you know, consistency isn't just about the surface level things of releasing music and doing shows. It's also about being consistent with people, you know, like building those relationships and, like, consistently networking and consistently trying to find ways to build those opportunities for yourself. And so I think that's why being consistent is important to me.
Right.
But yeah. And as far as Jason's question goes, like, I think
Damn, I ain't shit.
no, that's fine. I think I do have to build kind of. Did you say, like, a new norm?
Yes,
Something
and
like
no.
that?
Yes and
Yes
I said
and no?
yes and no.
I feel like my consistency will look different because, like, I was, you know, I was married. You know, I was codependent on somebody for a long time, and now that that's done, and I'm doing my own thing and I'm exploring dating, which is something I've been open about on my social media, which I was kind of hesitant to do. But I also think that that's just part of, like, my life. Yeah. So I think I do have to find something new because I feel like the way before, after I got my divorce, I realized it wasn't working. I feel like I was just there just to be there, you know? And I don't want to do that. I definitely want to be more purposeful when I move and when I speak or when I give people my time or when, you know, and setting boundaries too.
Yeah.
Like, I learned that very quickly after after the divorce happened. I realized, like, there's so many missing pieces that I'm just now realizing that are healthy and unhealthy, you know? So I feel like being consistent now to me is, I feel like I kind of have to be hands off with certain things because I have to give myself room to do other things that also make me happy outside of music, you know?
Right.
So I feel like I was kind of, like I said earlier, I was just trekking along.
Yeah.
But I don't want to feel that way anymore.
I'm glad.
know?
I'm glad
Yeah.
you found that peace for yourself. That's important.
I did. It's so important to be happy. I feel like when you're happy, the consistency naturally comes.
Yeah.
You know? So.
And that's how you fucking face the music, people. That's how you face the music.
That transition is wild. But
it's accurate.
It's accurate. Do you want to tell the people about when we drop episodes and what time and all that shit? Thank you for tuning in, by the way.
Yeah, I was going to do that before you even said anything.
Oh, my fucking bad.
Yeah, so anyways, we drop every other Tuesday. So that's every other week, Nick.
What was it?
Because I was trying to figure out my fingers for a second. Anyway,
freaky.
every other Tuesday, right? Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, share it, add it to a playlist, tell your friends about it. If you got anything that you want us to talk about, drop it in the comments below. Please leave a comment anyways.
Please.
7 p.m.
7 p.m.
Tuesdays.
Pacific Standard Time.
And we'll see y'all next week. My name is Emanuel Brown, and that is...
Hold on. He said, we'll see you next week. That ain't right, bitch.
That's true. It's not right.
We're going to see you in 2 weeks.
He's right, and I'm going to keep that in there. So you'll see us in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Shout out to our friends at Lemon Perfect,
Lemon Perfect
for always showing us love.
Right.
Shout out to the whole team. And shout out to Fibonacci Studios for having us here.
Whoop, whoop, whoop.
Shout out to Robert, always.
Yeah. Shout out to Jason for the question.
Yeah, great question, Jason. And yeah, my name's Emanuel Brown.
I'm Sarey Savi. Oh, go ahead, bitch.
Yeah, shut the fuck up. This is the Face of Music podcast, and we see you guys in 2 weeks. Peace.
Like this.